Hey folks, welcome to Bullets and Brass. Today we are doing a video that is kind of a supplemental to a Paul Harrell video. He just did a video on SBRs versus full length 16 and 20 inch AR platform rifles, particularly using traditional XM 193. This is the old civilian version of the mil-spec 193 ammo. Did 55 grain FMJs, kind of a classic choice. Now, it was an excellent video. Most of Paul's videos are excellent. I have learned a lot from him. I consider him one of the best channels. However, Paul has a fairly lengthy format, and so occasionally he has to, for lack of a better term, cherry pick which aspects of a topic he is going to focus on. And everything he said in the video is true. Everything he said was accurate. I just felt that there was more to the story. So, as a different Paul has said, here's the rest of the story. And now for the rest of the story, or something like that. I can't remember. It was a Paul Harvey thing. So, the topic is short barrel, say 10.5 inch, like really short, versus 16 or 20. And accuracy, effectiveness, speed, just general results, right? Now, I have my SBR with a suppressor on it and a full-length 16-inch upper. Now, if we put these side by side, you can see that even with a suppressor, the SBR is shorter, okay? The SBR is, in this case, a 300 blackout, but we're going to pretend it's 5.56. So let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages on each. The primary advantages of a 16-inch barrel on a 5.56, remember, we're pretending these are all 5.56. Most people, outside of niche groups, 300 blackout, 6.5 Grendel, they're not popular. They're popular with a certain group of people. Outside of that, 5.56 223 world is massively larger, so we're going to stick with that. 16 or 20 inch barrel, it's about 400 feet per second faster than a 10 inch barrel, like Paul demonstrated, with M193. Okay? It is longer sight radius, which may or may not matter, like he demonstrated. It is generally quieter. There's less concussion. The longer barrel means that all the powder burns in the barrel, or almost all. That flash hider doesn't have to do a lot of work. You get a little fireball at the end, but nothing crazy, right? You know, we've all been on the range when somebody sets off a short barrel rifle versus a long barrel rifle, and it's noticeable, right? So, more complete burn, let's say, from the longer barrel. We're going to put that in the pro column. It's not it's really just a default, because most barrels are that length due to NFA laws, but not crazy concussion, not crazy muzzle blast. This is kind of normal. We all accept and are ready for that. The relative con on a short barrel rifle is that, holy shit, they're loud. Okay, unsuppressed, with pretty much any muzzle brake, no matter what you do, this is going to be a massive concussion, massive noise comparatively. Fireball, like, it is a beast. To the extent that you really don't want to use these inside. Indoor ranges, home defense, unsuppressed, a 5.56 SBR, and we're not talking a 14.5 inch barrel here. We're talking 12.5 and under, really. It's just brutal. It's a good way to lose your hearing, even with some hearing protection on. It is a good way to not be able to hear anything else for a while. Meaning, okay, somebody walks in the door and you are defending yourself, and somebody walks in the other door and you can't hear them. They're yelling at you. The cops are yelling commands. You can't hear anything. You can't hear the range officer at the range because you're deaf. Okay? So Unsuppressed, full caliber SBRs are brutal. Now, I mean, they're still fun. Like no question, they are a popular thing, particularly now with AR pistols having become so popular. Definitely, they're a thing. Okay, they're still loud, just is. Now, what else we got? I have notes because there's no way I ever remember all this stuff. Not offhand. We already talked about velocity. Paul covered that really well. So, suppress as well. The full length barrels, you've already burned almost all that powder. You've already used up a lot of that fire, so to speak. So when you get to the end and you add a suppressor, it can work really well. It doesn't have to struggle. You don't need a 12-inch long, 2-inch diameter suppressor to do a good job. I have an 8-inch, 8-inch long, 1.5-inch diameter suppressor. On full caliber, long barrels, it's great. It suppresses a 6.5 Creedmoor on a 24-inch barrel. Wonderfully. Not hearing safe, but like with hearing protection on, it's actually a joy to shoot. You don't even feel any concussion at all. You don't have any kind of blast. There's no bang really. It's very mild. And that's 6.5 Creedmoor. Okay. On 223, it's nothing. It's great. But on a short barrel, it's working hard. Now, obviously I use it mostly on 300 blackout. There's a reason for that. I shoot subsonics a lot in the 300 blackout. But if you shoot supersonics, which are very similar to shooting supersonic 5.56, it takes the edge off. It gets it down to something that is not obnoxious, but it's still loud. There's still a blast coming out of the end of that suppressor. Because the suppressor is not long enough to stop all of that. You need a giant suppressor to do that. Now that goes to the next con, length. If you take a 16-inch barrel or a 20-inch barrel and add even a 6-inch suppressor, okay, a little baby suppressor. Now, keep in mind, on a 20-inch barrel, a 6-inch suppressor can actually do a really good job. It's not going to be hearing safe, but I mean, you've done the job of a suppressor that way. You still added 6 inches to an already long barrel. That's now a 26-inch long barrel. If you've got a more typical 8 or 10-inch suppressor, which is very common, wow, that's a really long gun, right? That's crazy. Now, at the range, no problem. Out hunting in open terrain, no problem. At home for self-defense, if you're a policeman, if you're in the military, if you're using this for some apocalypse planning, getting a 28-inch barrel AR in and out of a vehicle or navigating around a building, like, this is a pain in the ass. Like, you want to pie that door? Good luck. Your barrel's so freaking long, you're back in the other room 5 feet, practically. Okay? It's not realistic. So, this is why people go to SBRs, mostly. I mean, let's be realistic. Other than AR pistols and the fun of it, the primary reason people shorten the barrel on a 5.56 is because they're adding a suppressor, and the two work together to get a package that is usable and practical and a little quieter. And also, it takes that shock out of it. Even on an overly short barrel with an overly short suppressor, it really does a lot to take that concussive force away, which is a huge part of being able to maintain your situational awareness, not distracting the guy next to you who's trying to engage targets. You know, it's better. So, what's the rest of the story? Because we've talked about things that are kind of obvious, but one of the things that stood out to me when Paul did his demonstration was he specifically, for good reason, used M193. Now, M193 is a classic choice. However, it is not the best choice for the modern world. It has been superseded. In fact, for an SBR, it's a horrible choice. Now, he did it for consistency. He's demonstrating the results with as few variables as he can put into it. And in fact, he specifically used iron sights on all of them because that's what he had for his longer barrel, so he didn't put an optic on the short one. As you can see, I'm a firm believer in optics. I think that even CQB, optics are where it's at. If you, this isn't 1980, this isn't even 1990. We're in 2020. Optics have come a long way. Use them. Get the advantages. Whether you're punching paper or defending your life or defending somebody else's life, optics work. Anyway, off topic. But they matter because an SBR, some of the advantages of a non-SBR are that length for sight radius, right? That does not matter whatsoever when you put an optic on top. Completely irrelevant. Mechanically speaking, an SBR has advantages for accuracy if you use an optic. There's just fundamental advantages, all else being equal in terms of barrel quality and so on. So, ammo choice. If you're going to do an SBR, get ammo that actually is designed to operate at the speed you're going to get. Now, I reload. I also buy factory ammo. For my 300 Blackout SBR, I use the Barnes TAC-X. Actually, TAC-TX, I believe. Do I have a box here? I don't. It is the 110 grain little black polymer tipped all copper projectile that is specifically designed for 300 Blackout. Okay, it is considered one of the best hunting rounds, self-defense rounds for 300 Blackout. Non-exotics. I mean, you get to some of the crazy stuff and then it gets a little weird. You got to pick your exact scenario. But it is specifically designed to work well in short barrels. Okay? So giving it a longer barrel doesn't actually get you much. There's the same thing for 5.56. You can get ammo that uses powder and uses projectiles paired to burn almost completely. There's only a little left. You're only gaining a little bit by a longer barrel in like a 12-inch barrel. Okay, now a lot of the negatives from that 12-inch barrel start going away. You've reduced that concussion. You've reduced that huge muzzle blast. You've reduced the overall noise level. You have not lost as much velocity as you would have. And you've got a bullet designed to perform at the speed you're going to get. So when you hit the target, say you're hunting, you're using it for self-defense, you're a police officer using this in the line of duty. If you use a bullet designed to operate at the correct speed for your rifle, you get better results, right? I mean, kind of a no-brainer. M193 was designed to run out of a 20-inch barrel, or longer even. It needs that velocity to fragment. It needs that velocity to tumble properly. The way it works ballistically, in terms of terminal ballistics, requires velocity. It is a narrow window. If you cut that velocity even a few hundred feet per second, your results go downhill. Basically, it was designed to operate within a particular range parameter, and past that, they just accepted the fall off. Well, if you shorten the barrel, you've basically taken that range potential and killed it, because you're leaving the barrel at what the velocity was supposed to be at the limit of its really effective range. You kind of made a poor choice. So, pick the right ammo. The SBR really has no downside other than the NFA side, the tax stamps and other expenses. You should still suppress it. If you're going to do an SBR, suppress it. I've done them both ways, and there's no comparison. Suppressed, they are a whole lot better. even with good ammo choices, you are reducing your maximum effectiveness. Now, this is one of the reasons 300 Blackout was created. It's one of the reasons 6.8 was created. 6.5 was created. They work well out of shorter barrels. Last few things. If you are not going to suppress it, your options for muzzle devices, your options for exact barrel length, for handguards, they're more flexible. So my suppressor comes down to here. And I've got it covered by a handguard. What, 2/3 of the way up? Okay. Now, I prefer it that way. I like to be able to get my arm further out. I would like it to actually be a little further, but I wanted to be able to get my hand on this to get it off. I don't have the world's greatest muzzle devices on here. I didn't do premium stuff. It takes a little torque sometimes. So I wanted to be able to get a real grip. So this is a trade-off for length. However, the biggest trade-off, and it isn't so much a trade-off as a limited options kind of thing, is that I had to get a handguard that fit, because I've got an 1.5-inch diameter object. A lot of handguards don't have an 1.5 inch inside. Most don't. Very few. And I've got average size hands. I cannot completely close my hand around that. It's close. I can almost touch my fingers. Almost. There you go, touching. But you get my point. It is an issue. It is something to keep in mind. It's something to put on the list of things to consider. On a non-covered suppressor, hey, you put whatever you want, right? Any option. You've got someone sitting on the shelf, you see a sale going, you're great. But now my handguard only comes to here. You see? That's awful short. Now, if I want to hold that, where I'm back here, oh my God, that's cramped, okay? That is cramped for me, and here we go. Let's be fair here, okay? That's cramped. I mean, my shoulder can feel that I'm pulled in. I'm not extending my arm. I'm not going to have the leverage over the rifle. Now, is that a huge deal? Depends on what you're doing. So, SBRs, they're cool as hell. They're a lot of fun. There's more to it than just, is it as accurate and is it effective at distance? You got to decide for yourself. You got to decide what your needs are. Choose properly. Look at all the pros and cons. Choose ammo appropriately. Figure out what the overall length you can live with is, and then decide how much of that you want barrel, how much you want suppressor. Do you care about the suppressor? Because if your overall length requirement is going to work with like a 14.5-inch barrel, and you put a muzzle device on it that gets you to 16, and you don't have to deal with NFA, and you don't need quieter, that's easy. That works. That's great. You've got into a smaller platform. You shorten this up, you're good. Okay? Because this is just fractionally shorter than it would be legal if this was pinned and welded without being an SBR. Okay? Just a little bit. Let me get this all in frame, right? Fairly compact back here. Just, I mean, you wouldn't be able to see it in the picture, really. So, if you don't need the suppressed, that's short enough for most purposes. Most AR pistols are not significantly shorter than that. Mostly because of the muzzle blast. Anyway, we are, holy shit, we're at 39 minutes, so I'm going to have to edit the hell out of this. Hopefully I can get this down to like 20 minutes. Take care all, have fun, stay safe, stay out of trouble. Say hi. Oof. Oof. Oof.